Welcome to KoozaCast, where we interview some of the most influential people in tourism from around the world. My name is Graham Watson, and I'm the founder of Kooza Global. The word Kooza means a new dawn, and in 2023, we want to find out just how our guests are working towards that new dawn. Join us and subscribe to future episodes as we hope to inspire you with stories of strength and resilience in the tourism industry.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of KoozaCast. My guest today is Duncan Greenfield-Turk. He is the managing director or chief. What would you say, Duncan?
Chief travel designer.
Chief travel designer at Global Travel Moments. Welcome, Duncan.
Way of saying I plan travel.
Yes, yeah. No, well, that's good. I mean, that's what we all do, and it's great to get another guest on in the front line of actually speaking with guests and what they want and what they're looking for. So yeah, keen to really get into it and find out what makes you tick. So Duncan, the way I usually start the podcast is everybody just introduces themselves and talks about a little bit about what they've been up to over the last few years in travel, how you got into travel. So yeah, let the listeners know who Duncan Greenfield-Turk is.
Sure. So thanks very much, Graham, for having me. As you said, my name's Duncan. A little bit about me. I've been in travel for almost 30 years. Started my career in tourism back when I was a wee 15-year-old in South Africa, and have moved through the industry in various ways, shapes, and forms. Starting my own business coming on 5 years now in the tourism space, having had a lovely long career of 22 years in luxury hotels and luxury hospitality. So Global Travel Moments was founded back in 2018 and has gone from strength to strength, the pandemic notwithstanding.
Yep. Yeah, that's a whole nother chapter in everybody's career.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I mean, great. Well, thanks for joining us today and being part of what is proving to be a growing a number of people that are being my guest and tuning into the podcast. We've now got just over 10% of the world's countries listening in, and so yeah, it's really, really growing. And thanks for being a part of it. So what? Tell us a bit more about where you've just been. You've been to Antarctica.
I have, yeah. I had the pleasure of joining Quark Expeditions in February down in Antarctica, and it was a really interesting journey. I chose to do it because selling Africa for clients and having clients do incredible safari experiences, I was looking for something that they could potentially do over and beyond the various safari experiences that you find in Africa. And I thought, well, what do you give someone who's very adventurous? And then I was like, well, a polar experience came to mind. And so I headed off to Buenos Aires at the beginning of February, flew down to Ushuaia and joined the ship for a 12-day sailing all the way to the Antarctic continent. Quite the experience, an avid adventure, and one I'd highly recommend, but one I also suggest people think really long and hard, is it the right trip for them? And if it is, definitely do it with an experienced provider. Yeah.
I mean, so getting there and back is, so I mean, just describe the journey. So you go, you
yeah, so I flew from Heathrow direct to Buenos Aires, about a 14-hour flight, and from there I spent just a day and a night in Buenos Aires. It's actually quite the easy journey. I mean, there's different ways to do it. You can fly from different points. For this particular trip, it departs from Ushuaia, so I spent a night in Ushuaia before joining the ship. So for anyone who is doing it, I mean, obviously you're looking at just getting into Argentina and down to Ushuaia, or if you're doing one of the different liners, that could be a charter flight. It's just, again, working with your travel provider to find what's the best route for you to get there. Of course, there's different options from the UK. You could potentially get there via Manchester, from Edinburgh as examples. They might be connecting flights. More commonly from the UK, people tend to connect in Europe with the direct flights from Europe to Buenos Aires.
Okay, I mean, yeah, that sounds phenomenal. So hopefully it's one thing I can get to experience one day as well. I think it's on most people's bucket list. So yeah, now we know who to come to when we're ready to book.
Thanks,
so and so what is since the pandemic has thank goodness kind of subsided quite a lot, almost ended now. How have you found the getting back into the swing of things? I know everyone's kind of been taken by surprise as to how busy things are. How do you structure your day and remain productive? Are there any productivity tools that you use to get you through?
This is a great question. I think every agency is different. Every travel advisor is also very different. So for me, I've been focused on selling travel, of course, as a travel agency for coming on 4 or 5 years. What was key for me was looking at what it is that we do and who we do it for. So back in 2021, in the middle of the pandemic, I made a decision to rebrand the business, to do something a little bit different, and to really look at who we work with. So, for example, we do explicitly tailor-made trips only. We're not a typical off-the-shelf package provider. We can do that for clients if they have that specific request, but our focus is really to curate incredible one-of-a-kind moments for clients. And so this then allows us to work on some unique trips. It also means that we're not necessarily, as we've come out of COVID, as busy as some of our fellow agencies are, because we're now in that growth phase. We used COVID to really focus on who our customer is and to identify our customer. Now we're in the process of selling to our clients. So we've seen a huge uptick in Southeast Asia. We've seen a huge uptick in Indonesia. We've seen an uptick in Japan for this year. And of course, we're seeing continued growth and expectation for the Maldives and Africa, which were our busiest destinations last year.
Yeah. Yeah, it is great to see everybody getting back to work, and it's great to see. What do you think what do you think it's taught you about yourself? Let's get deep really early on into the podcast. What a lot of people, I think, have learned a lot of lessons about themselves. What kind of 3 things do you think you never realized about yourself prior to March 2020?
Well, I think for me, what's very interesting is, I'm a neurodivergent person. So I struggle with concentration. I struggle with, doing one specific thing at one particular time. So I really focus on utilizing tools and tasks, and it's taught me how to do that properly. So last year we spent a lot of time looking at implementing back office tools, back office systems to make things a little bit automated, a little bit streamlined, a little bit easier. And that really, really helped. And so I think what I've learned about myself is break my day down. I try and get things done, in the morning. If I have more heavy tasks, heavy lifting to do, I try and get, things out the way. I work with the same suppliers a lot. I utilize those relationships. So they're strong relationships, and we've built a lot of trust over the last couple of years. And so we've also come to understand how we work. So when I send a briefing, I ensure that I provide them with a very detailed outline of what clients want. And then we have a quick conversation around it. And then it's communication. That's the other thing that I think I've learned, is that it's incredibly important to be communicating effectively with clients and with suppliers. And I know from my experience in hotels that you don't always have the information to hand that suppliers want. But it's understanding that if you just let them know, look, I don't have this, but I can get you this, or I don't have it right now, I've already asked the client the question, it provides you with opportunity. And it shows that you're working with suppliers to help do things like that. So I think those are some of the things that I've learned.
Yeah. I think actually, yeah, I mean, it's all about the relationships. I think a lot of people learned about the importance of relationship building, and particularly when there were sort of contractual obligations that, no one ever assumed that a worldwide pandemic would come into play. And, you were just those relationships that you had. I remember being on the phone, yeah, I mean, with like really, really tough conversations to have. And, when you know somebody really well, it just makes it all the easier to get around that. Because there's as you say, there's a trust, there's a relationship. And that's what I think we all learned. So Duncan, your about on LinkedIn says, I believe that everyone, no matter their sexuality or gender expression, deserves the same opportunity to discover the world and experience moments that matter. What are the challenges, do you think, that the LGBTQ plus community faces when having a vacation around the world that maybe people who have never, people that aren't of that in that community take for granted when they travel?
A really good question, a really important question. I think what you have to remember and recognize is that being a member of the community is still illegal in a number of countries around the world. And in countries where it is legal, it's not always easy to be yourself. And so that can cause problems, can cause challenges. There's an LGBT safety index. You can actually find it on my website, which will tell you the best and worst countries. And I think, that is just as important to look at and see, because that helps you understand where you can travel to. And it's not to say that, countries with very strict laws are not safe, but generally you have to gauge it by yourself, and it's how you present, as well. I've done a lot of development on the trans space recently, trying to understand how travel impacts people from this community. And it's really interesting. There are some really tough and difficult conversations that need to be had that are not being had. And you look at the rhetoric that's going on in the US and how difficult it is at the moment, and how challenging it is at the moment for people in that space. So for me, travel should be enlightening, it should be welcoming, it should be authentic and open. And I think the reality is that it's our role as travel advisors to help everyone travel and everyone benefit from the joy of travel. So yeah, that's really how I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to go to somebody who has researched the thing that I don't think we can change too much in terms of, I mean, it's a slow process, but it's not going to be in the next 5 or 10 years that you're going to change an entire millions of people's culture in a country. I mean, it's the things are slowly being chipped away, but I think it's important to know where those places are that you can go to be completely safe.
I would challenge this, as an individual. What impact does that person have on your life? If you are being and spouting hate or hateful rhetoric, the question that I would ask everyone to ask themselves is, what impact is that to your life? Why is it that you find it so challenging to you? And go away and delve into that, because everyone's just trying to live the best life that they possibly can with the circumstances that they have. And being a member of the community myself, I think there's no point leading a life full of hate, and travel should be enlightening and welcoming for all. It should be our opportunity to share our cultures with everyone. And the last thing someone wants is to go somewhere and feel that they have been threatened, that they are not safe, that their life is in jeopardy or danger because of who they are and whom they love.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I've got a daughter, and I said you love who you love, no matter who that person is, or what gender or any. But if you've fallen in love with another soul, it doesn't matter in what body that soul inhabits. It's you've fallen in love. Yeah. So for me, it's very easy to embrace everybody, because it's for me, what somebody does in the privacy of their own bedroom, not hurting anybody, not do why do people care what that person does, and that's what I find bizarre, and it's just I don't understand it, but I don't understand the hate, but I don't also, but do you think, have you noticed a fundamental change for the better?
In what sense?
Well, do you see the world becoming more accepting, or do you think it became more accepting and is now taking another turn?
I think globally we're going backwards.
Yeah, that's what I was asked. That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that globally we are going a little bit backwards. And specifically, you look at the US at the moment, where they're trying to roll back. Certain states are really hell bent on rolling back.
Yeah, even on things like abortion. Yeah.
And that, I think, is just incredibly sad.
Yeah. It's but look, I mean, let's keep the faith. I mean, I think when that's why businesses such as yours, when people are planning to travel, it's important to understand. And if a country in general is not welcoming, then that country loses out, and it's something that country has to come to terms with.
Yeah.
We are both born and bred. When did you leave South Africa? How old were you?
Oh, I was first time probably about 1920.
Oh wow, okay. So you're definitely born and bred.
Yeah.
We could finish the conversation in Afrikaans, I suppose, but we won't.
I might struggle a little bit more.
Yes,
is quite rusty. But certainly, I would do my best.
Yeah. But anyway, don't worry. We're not going to do that because, I would make an absolute fool out of myself as well. When it's government legislated, like, we were one of the first countries in the world to accept same-sex marriage.
First five, yeah. First five, but
in the early 90s, wasn't it? Or mid
90s. The only challenge is, I don't think if you tried to get that through South African Parliament today, that it would get through.
Well, that was my point. Is that it's even though it's in the Constitution, it's legislated. There is a divergence or from what's in the Constitution to what the population is willing to, or the general population is willing, and that's I suppose what you've got to look at as well. It's not merely Googling where it is legal; it's Googling what the general culture of the country feels as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean we've spoken a lot. As I mentioned earlier, I had Martina Barth, who is one of the membership coordinators for the RGLTA, which does great work. Do you do much work with the RGLTA?
We are a member of RGLTA. Yeah, it was a long time coming that we did it, and it's a great organization. They do a lot within the tourism space globally, and they do a lot within the education of countries and destinations on what they can be doing better.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's exciting times in the tourism business. There's a lot of entrepreneurs coming through, a lot of people trying to start up businesses. I'm mentoring a young entrepreneur in South Africa at the moment through the National Department of Tourism. My ex boss Craig Drysdale put me in touch, and we were kind of working together to get this business off the ground. What advice would you give somebody that's looking for motivation to succeed, not necessarily in a small to medium business, but just even in the UK or Africa? I mean, you're based in the UK, so if someone came up to you and said, "I want to start a travel business," what would you say to them?
My first question, the first thing that I would say to them is probably why.
Yeah, are you looking to be rich?
A why.
Yeah,
would be very much around, you know, do you have the resource to do it? Because starting a travel business is actually absolutely very possible and very rewarding. But you've got to be ready for lots of pain, lots of difficulty, lots of challenge. And that is completely possible. But you've just got to ask yourself the question, do you have the resource to do it? And if the answer is yes, then go for it.
Yeah.
I think ventured, nothing gained.
Yeah, and it's mental resource as well as especially with your own business. I mean, when you're not getting a salary, regardless of how many bookings you close, it's that becomes the thing. When if you look down the sales pipeline for the next year and you think, oh my gosh, how am I paying the rent in September or something? That's and it's that kind of resilience, that mental resilience that you need. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I think that comes in any business. It's very much knowing and the passion as well. I mean, firstly, there's so many things you need to do. Firstly, you need to have the knowledge. You need to be able to genuinely guide somebody through where they should be going, what they should be doing. I think most people nowadays can hear the pitter patter of a keyboard while the person's trying to Google the answers to the question.
Else I would say to anyone who's getting into the business now is get yourself a mentor.
Yeah.
Get yourself a mentor in the industry. Get yourself someone, a business coach. I think it's so important to have someone that you can regularly speak to and bounce ideas off. That was, I think, my saving grace through COVID. I have a fantastic mentor who is in the aviation industry, Julie Murphy from ANA, and she has been, a godsend for me because, we would have our catch ups and we still have our catch ups now, and it's having someone that understands your journey, understands what you're trying to achieve, but who can be a sounding board and who can provide good advice about what it is you're trying to do without telling you what to do, because no one else can tell you what to do for your business.
Yeah, of course. Because you've got the vision, you know exactly what where you want to go. But it's very exciting being an entrepreneur. I mean, it really, to have your destiny in your own hands in a way. I mean, it's a huge leap of faith. And I think most of us who are doing it, I think really wouldn't have it any other way.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah. So we first met on Clubhouse, that wonderful app. Yeah. You haven't been back on it much lately?
No. I just haven't found I don't think it's the same as it was for COVID.
No.
Great app. I think it was exactly what people needed, but I think it was a sign of its time, as it were.
Yeah, unfortunately, because I still connect with some people that we met on Clubhouse and in different other spheres, like you and I, we've taken it offline. We've got each other's numbers. We, hopefully going to meet face to face very, very soon. I think the importance also to tell a young entrepreneur is the importance of networking, because you never know who you're going to meet, what they're going to, even on a platform such as Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces or whatever the other ones are coming. Just get out there, talk, network. You never know who's on the other end, who's listening. And I think that's the important thing to do as well. Evening events,
Absolutely.
yeah, just get out there as much as possible.
Absolutely. I think it's so important to speak to as many people as possible,
Yeah,
and just learn as much as possible.
yeah. What do you what do you think what do you think COVID taught the tourism industry that will stick around forever, or for going forward?
Um, I think what we're seeing now that we're out of COVID for tourism is that we really do have to be aware of our impact on our surroundings and on the world as a whole. I think you have to absolutely be fully aware of what it is you're selling, where you're sending clients, and their impact as well. And it's our responsibility to educate clients when they travel on the eco elements of the world.
Mm, yeah,
So I think that's a big thing.
yeah, yeah. Sustainable tourism, more than just environment. We're talking about community sustainability. I had Julie from Weaver on the other day, who focuses a lot on guiding businesses to with their sustainable footprint. And what you learn is that people, when they hear about sustainability, they think climate change and carbon footprint and all that, but there's so much more to it. There's a community, there's so much more that you need to look into when it comes to traveling, and how your travel is going to impact and if it uplifts a community, then it's great. But if it degrades a community, then you need to think long and hard.
I'm also, one of the things that we spout eco, and we talk about sustainability, and I'm a big believer that we can't be truly sustainable until we as an industry look at, when we go to a destination, do we leave it better off or worse off than when we arrived? And the reality is that we will always change a destination. We will always have that impact on an environment. And so unless we truly leave an environment alone and let it prosper as itself, we're not allowing true sustainability. What we should be doing is our goal is to improve the destination along all sources, and that is for plant life, animal life, and ourselves. And we should be leaving it better off when we leave.
Yeah. No.
Then that's sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the question I always like to ask: What do you think still needs to change? You've only got 4 hours.
I would say the one thing that probably needs to change is we need to recognize travel is not cheap. We're privileged, and travel is a privilege. It's not entitlement. We don't have the right to travel. It is a privilege to travel. And so cheap travel, and yes, everyone should enjoy tourism and everyone should be able to travel the world, but we should also recognize that it's not sustainable to do these cheap budget trips and have a positive impact on the environment. So I think that needs to change. If that's to continue, then we need to figure out, how do we incorporate something that gives back to the environment in those trips?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. The budget trips may be cutting corners that they have to in order to keep the price low, and I think that, I think the way it's going is that a lot of businesses are being forced to be as transparent as they can to the carbon, to whatever the sustainable aspect of the trip.
Yeah.
So I think it's it's important to, and do you put that into your to the guidance that you give as well?
What I certainly try and do with every client is just have a conversation around it, so that they are aware. And certainly we work with providers who have this as a core focus of what they're doing. So it really does ensure that we are working with them to create the right experiences, but we're also giving back to the communities.
Yeah. And new destinations that you're looking at?
Well, for me, it's South America.
Yeah.
I think there's a great opportunity down there. It's incredibly beautiful. There's a lot available, a lot on offer, and certainly, a lot for people to do. So it's definitely somewhere I would like to send clients. We're doing a lot. We've always done a lot in Southeast Asia, so Thailand and Indonesia and that region. We're starting to see clients go to Japan now that Japan's fully reopened, and that's very exciting. And of course, for me, Africa. I mean, while we sell a lot of Southern Africa and Mid Africa, I want to see clients really tuck into places like Namibia, Rwanda, in more opportunities and more ways.
Well, did you know that I'm doing a webinar on Burundi tomorrow?
Fantastic.
So I will send you the link, and we are launching Burundi at full force into the UK market. It's a lovely, lovely place, and it's one of those places that people probably never thought to go to, but you can have a wonderful sort of 5-6 day trip and meet the locals and see some different wildlife. And so I'll send you the link, and you can feel free to join us. It's going to be pretty exciting to get the opinions of people about new destinations such as Burundi. It's I think it's particularly in Africa. There's a lot of up and coming destinations. I think that's also what's changed. I think people wanting to explore a bit more now, as the Gen Zs and the Gen Xs and all that come through. I think there seems to be a bit more appetite for weird and wonderful.
I think people missed traveling, and so COVID allowed them the opportunity to think, well, where do I really want to go? What do I really want to get out of my travel experience? And so that, in itself, meant that they could really put into practice where they wanted to see, what they wanted to do, and also budget a little bit for it and think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does the listeners get in touch with you, Duncan?
Easy way, my website, globaltravelmoments.com. You can contact us through the Contact Us page. And of course, you can email me at duncan@globaltravelmoments.com. I can be found on Facebook, can be found on LinkedIn, Instagram, Global Travel Moments. And just really, we encourage clients to get in touch with us to discuss whatever it is that they might be planning. And we will always help with what it is that they're looking to do.
Is it worldwide travelers or mainly
we
UK?
Do, yeah, absolutely. We do worldwide. We focus on curating experiences for clients, across the globe, no matter where they are in the globe.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, thanks so much for chatting with me. It's always good to speak to people on the front line and listen to what the travelers are looking for, and wish you all the best of luck, and hope to see you next week, actually. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Graham. It's been a pleasure.
Okay. Thanks, Duncan. Ciao. Bye.
Thanks for tuning into KuzaCast, where we explore the world of tourism with leaders from all corners of the globe. Join me, Graham Watson, for future episodes as we dive into the latest trends and insights from the industry. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating, and we'll see you next time on KuzaCast.